Do you have like he got when he took out the mic reader? That's when he got his flashlight, and I had his flashlight in my pocket.
Are you serious?
And I was like, right now the computer.
First of all, judges, we want to thank you for giving us the opportunity. This means a lot to us. We know you all are very busy. We hope we can help in a little way because we're getting a lot of this. So thank you. My name is Brett. I'll be starting us off. This is my colleague Oscar, Emma, and Chris. Now, just a quick question to kind of get us rolling. Did anybody see Ken Ham and Bill Nye Science Guy today a couple months ago? Show of hands? Okay, I got one. I was alone last time, so I'm the only geek this time. It was great. It was like a scientific presidential debate. I loved it. But I kind of got reminded of this yesterday as we're going through this case, and it really brought to mind evolution. Now, not biology evolution, that's way outside the scope of my expertise. More of a sociological perspective. I'm wanting to look at the evolution of a sports team. And we like to break this down into 4 different groups. Interest, connection, tradition, and religion, each progressively beyond the next. Interest, it starts with just putting a good product on the field that the fans can get excited about. Late 19th century, a group of guys got together and decided we're going to run into each other wearing leather helmets and carry an oblong ball. Seems to have worked out. At the time, I probably wouldn't have bet on it. That interest has kind of grown, and it's developed, and it's gone to a connection. Fans started connecting with the sport. And not only the sport, the team and the players involved in the sport. As those connections grow deeper, traditions start. Dotting the I, Ohio State. Singing, the national anthem before the games or during the 7th inning stretch. All great traditions, but fans have their own traditions as well. They sit in the same seats. They eat the same foods. They go to the same places. But as these traditions become pattern, it almost turns into a religion. I think you have these traditions, the same things, doing it over and over, but then we also build these places of almost worship, exalting these sport athletes, on the highest level, in these huge stadiums, paying them millions of dollars. Currently, we like to think that many of the major sports teams in America right now, in the major leagues, kind of fall in the tradition to religion spectrum. FC Dallas, we kind of see currently in limbo between the interest and connection. Now, we think that's a great position for them for being such a young franchise, and there's a lot of potential there. However, we think there are some barriers that are preventing them from really progressing along this. One of the big issues we think is the perception of the sport. And it's a very misguided perception. So to really address this, we wanted to break this down. We wanted to look at why are the perceptions this way? Why is Joe Texas driving a further distance, spending more money and time, going to see the Cowboys only to be let down by Tony Romo, when he could come to FC Dallas and arguably see a more exciting game? So to address this, we not only thought we can hit our objective with these ticket sales, we can also increase the perceived value of the FC Dallas experience, and we think it'll knock down some of these barriers for the continued growth of this program.
And this is the roadmap that we're going to follow today. So first, I'm going to talk about the situational analysis. What is FC Dallas' current situation? Let's talk about the things that are working. First of all, we know that FC Dallas has had a lot of success converting their frequent fans into season ticket holder status. In fact, to the point where these season ticket holders are now constitute the majority of ticket sales for the team. This is actually a great accomplishment for such a young franchise. Also, FC Dallas really prides itself on the experience that it provides for its fans. And we believe that this unique soccer experience, soccer culture, is a great tool to help grow and increase the value perception. Also, part of that fan experience is the community that comes from being a part or being a fan of FC Dallas. And this community is exemplified by the team supporter groups. These individual groups not only elevate the in-game experience, but they also represent the soccer culture and the team experience that being a fan of FC Dallas is all about. Also, we've seen success in targeting the male demographic in the ages 18 to 34. And this demographic actually now constitutes 40% of stadium attendance, which is great. And we think this is a very strong segment. It continues to be a strong segment for FC Dallas. But obviously, there are some things that aren't working. Why aren't people purchasing tickets on a one-off basis? We've identified some key issues that we think might be affecting this. So first, local sports competition. There are a lot of strong brands, sports brands in Dallas. We've got the Mavericks, we've got the Cowboys, we've got the Rangers. All of these are teams that FC Dallas has to compete with at some point during their season. And FC Dallas has not yet established that brand image, that fan base, that momentum that's going to make it come to mind first when people think of what sporting event they want to go to. So changing that perception, putting FC Dallas at the top of people's minds when it comes to recall is going to be critical for growth. Second, we identified that in the marketing and research data that FC Dallas provided to us, people seem to are under this impression, have the perception that Frisco is too far to drive for them to get out to a game. But this is actually a misconception. As Brett touched upon, Frisco is actually, and Toyota Stadium are actually easier to get, to, it's closer from downtown than going to Cowboys or Rangers Stadium. So this is a key perception that we need to change. Finally, we identified that there's a lack of awareness. And it can either be a lack of awareness in the game itself or just a lack of awareness for FC Dallas and where they're located. We saw in this survey that a number of respondents said they never even thought about going to the game. And we think that that's just, they don't understand the value, they don't know about the game, or know about the team, or they don't understand the value that the team can provide for them. So that's another perception that we really would like to change.
All right, so now that we have identified the key issues, the question becomes how can we overcome these issues to eventually help you accomplish your goals? And the first thing we think needs to happen for FC Dallas is to reposition FC Dallas within the community. And we primarily want to touch on two aspects here. First of all, we want to overcome the perception of FC Dallas games not being accessible. And second of all, we want to embrace the impact that the FC Dallas fans have on the outcome of the game. Your team is nearby, Dallas till we die, is the message that we created to target our target market. And that arises the next question, what actually is our target market? So we looked at a lot of potential markets, but essentially realized that there is only one primary market that we really need to go after, or FC Dallas should go after. And that is the extremely attractive 18 to 34-year-olds. We are well aware that you're currently targeting 18 to 34-year-old males. What we're trying to say is we don't want you to switch or shift away your focus from that, because that still will be the dominant target market for the next couple of years. But you're currently having a 2 to 3 female to male ratio at FC Dallas games. And we feel like it would be absolutely counterproductive to not utilize that opportunity and focus on that female segment. Leads us to our next question, how do we want to implement this? And we felt like the best strategy and the most effective way to go with would be to break this down into the individual home games. So on the board you see the 2014 home schedule for FC Dallas, and we try to shift our focus away from 6 of those that we were told will be most likely sellouts anyways. Now this is going to be one of the most important things that we want to touch on. When we did our research, we looked at other soccer leagues, we looked at other sports, and we feel like coming up with one particular marketing campaign, with one particular event, one particular strategy is not going to help you accomplish your goals. We wanted to focus on a variety of different events, on a variety of events that focus on specific segments of that particular target market that we addressed. So what we essentially did is we came up with a lot of multiple events, and we feel like that allows you, gives you a lot of flexibility to see and run these events and feel like if they work or not, possibly adjust certain variables and run with that. So we initially came up with the term Fandemonium, which is essentially just a name for the series of the events that we're about to introduce to you. The first event that we would like to touch on is the so-called supporter group ticket sales competition. And as the name already indicates, this is a competition specifically targeted towards your support groups, because we feel like the support groups are a vital part of creating that individual and unique fan experience. So essentially, this is a season-long competition where you will provide password-protected links to the individual support groups, and their only goal is to sell as many tickets as possible. And there is an incentive for these support groups to actively participate in this. First of all, they can increase their membership. Second of all, you give them a lot of responsibility and essentially give them value, which is what they're looking for. So what this would look like, initially you would have on your homepage, this is just a screenshot of your current homepage, you would just add another banner right here that will focus on the support group ticket competition. If somebody were to click on that, they would be forwarded to the next site, which is simply just an introduction to that ticket competition. It would introduce it, there's like a welcome that will explain the rules and the guidelines, a countdown for how long the event is going to last, a current standings breakdown, and if you scroll further down, an individual breakdown of the individual support groups, how many tickets they have currently sold, and a password protected link to the individual home game where people can buy those tickets. And whoever sold the most tickets at the, I apologize, I forgot to mention this, we want to announce the winner at the second to last home game when we play against LA Galaxy. That's why it's a season-long event. And then when the winner was announced, FC Dallas will create a specific tailgate targeted towards that support group during the last game of the season against Portland Timbers, and that would be the prize that they could win. And we feel like that would be a great way to finish off the season and to establish a sense of community.
Right. Our next big event is something we haven't really foreshadowed at all, because it's actually not connected to a home game. We're doing something around an away game too, especially if we wanted to do this early in the season to try and build some momentum. So what we came up with was something around the biggest rivalry that FCD has, the Dynamo, or the Texas Derby. We created what we call the Rivalry Ride. It is a 2-day music and beer festival centered around soccer. Our plan is to, on a Friday evening, invite our fans out, come to the stadium. We're going to have live music, beer, food. At 7:30 when the kick starts, we're going to have a big screen there. You can watch the game. We want to create a home atmosphere, and the team's even away. After this, they go to bed? No. We're keeping them there. We want more bands, DJs, keep this going on. Now then we thought, how can we segue this to the next day? How can we get them back to the stadium? Our solution was to not let them leave. We wanted to create kind of a bonding scene, have a camping outside the stadium. Just keep them there, kind of create that community base. We realize this is kind of an eccentric idea out there, but we think it's something that actually could be embraced at the right price point. We even talked about doing it for free. Now, the second day they wake up, we have food, beverage, activities for them to do throughout the day, and it all culminates again with the second leg of the rivalry, and hopefully with an FCD win. Now, we also targeted a couple of big events in Dallas during the season that we thought would hit our target market and help promote our sport. One of them was the Rock and Roll Marathon, and we talked about doing a buy one, get one for any of the participants with that. Another one we looked at is the big youth tournament that they host at the Toyota Soccer Complex just north of the stadium. It seems like an easy target for other soccer players. They enjoy the sport. Easy way for us to promote our team, and also the Red Shamrocks. We thought it would be a good way for them to kind of monitor directly to their desired market. Now we're getting to some of our in-game specific stuff, centered more at our 18 to 34-year-olds. First one is Cooper's House Party. This is simply a rebranding of the college night. We don't have any different ideas, but the one thing we did add is we added one in the summer. We thought that was an opportunity to attract maybe some different college students who maybe don't go to school in the Dallas area. And our final one, Cakes for Chicks. We talked about we wanted to look at the women market. We haven't really marketed to them at all. This is, in short, is just a ladies' night at the bar. Discounted drinks, cheaper tickets, And we believe in turn, as in most bars do this, the guys will come too. And finally, Wicked Wednesday. There's that one midweek game, and we thought this was going to be a really tough draw. So we decided we'd create kind of a happy hour scene with some of our pub sponsors downtown, get the people directly from work, have them publicize this so they have tickets, but then provide the free transportation for them to get to the game. This is an 8 p.m. game on a weekday. This is going to be a tough draw, so we want to give them as much reason and incentive to get there. I mean, we're shuttling them there, we're providing an atmosphere before the game, an atmosphere after the game if they want to stay. And we think this would be, even on a Wednesday, a good opportunity for us to meet and increase our average.
So how are we going to get the word out about this? Our goal in terms of media is to cultivate a brand image by strategically selecting media that in a way that we can alter perception and affect behavior to initiate ticket purchase. By utilizing our message, your team is nearby, Dallas till we die. We are highlighting the close proximity of the stadium as well as that fan community that we're trying to develop or to highlight. Additionally, this is an example of a billboard that we could post on the road 8 miles from the stadium, using messages like, if we can run it, you can drive it. It's 8 miles away, and it really highlights that short distance to get to the stadium from where those drivers are, and it targets them where they are right on the road. So in terms of our budget, we'd be looking at 70% of budget going towards traditional media, billboards, TV, print, radio. And 30% of our budget will be going towards non-traditional media such as event tie-ins like the Rock and Roll Marathon, event creation like the away game watch parties, digital and social media to engage that fan base, and also trades and sales promotions, as well as PR campaign that would incorporate publicity stunts to generate some buzz.
Thank you. Oh, well, I've got lots of secrets. I'm only gonna talk about 3 of them tonight. Just a Mexican, and just I almost cried. Well, I cried when we almost got disqualified from the World Cup. Thank you. I deeply appreciate it. The other one that I want to talk about is that we believe that there's an actual way in which you can increase your sales ticket, and you can get that 6,000 return on investment that you ask every team to get. Yes, we believe that you can get it. So, we've got projected ticket sales. What does that mean? There's 37,000 tickets of the total 8,000 that we have to sell. Those 30,000 tickets, they actually sell by themselves. Is what Christopher said. Do we really want to make a huge advertising campaign when Landon Donovan come here? No. The guy sells. 4th of July, it sells. I know it sells because last year you had Chivas USA and it was crowded. There's no way somebody wants to go and watch Chivas USA match. That's all. So, we focus on those games. The games that nobody wants to go. The games that nobody wants to be in. Because that is where the money is. That is where you are missing tickets. So, we're going to have then our sales contest. What I love about it is that it can give you exponential growth. Don't look at me guys like I'm a robot, okay? But it does work like that. You can actually just have 5 people convince one single guy. You can put it right here, surround him by 5 people, and make them all convince him to go to the stadium. If you keep doing that game after game, you'll get almost 12,000 tickets sold by the end of the season. The second one that we have to talk about is a marketing campaign. If we can convince at least 5,000 times, we're not talking about 5,000 people, we're talking about 5,000 times, that we're not far away. We're right on your next door. We're close. We have free parking. And we have our events. I love games for chicks. I think it's something that you have to do. You have $2 beer for women. That's amazing. I just saw Google. I'll be honest. I went on and I looked for Cristiano Ronaldo sexy pics. 8.5 million Google answers. So yes, women are an awesome target for soccer.
All right, you guys, that's 20 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah, we gotta cut you short.
let's wrap it up. Yeah,
So, yeah, I guess we'll take questions at this time.
Good job.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
The first is, just so I'm clear, before we go into the rest of it, the target audience that you're going after for all of these is?
Essentially, if I may answer this, still the 18 to 34-year-old males, but we want to add the female segment to that as well. That's our primary target market. Yes, we do have events that are specifically tailored towards families, for instance, family night. We believe that's the secondary market you could work with, but eventually the primary market still will be the 18 to 34-year-old males and now females as well.
And a connection to the game of soccer is relevant or irrelevant to that group?
Well, actually, females are, I mean, in Europe, I'm from Germany, and I know that the ratio is still almost identical. It's like a 4 to 6 kind of ratio. So a lot of women watch soccer games. A lot of women actually watch the World Cup. I actually like to say, more women watch the World Cup than men do. So yes, we feel like there is a big market for sure.
Chris, if you want to hold that kids slide, you can talk about that too real quick. We did mention that one event for kids, and I know you guys have tried that in the past, and it didn't really turn out as best. But we do think that there's some potential here, not maybe immediately, but long term. Kids have a strong connection to sports. There's not a lot going on in their lives, but they're involved in sports, they love it. 60% of boys in all grades said sports is a big part of their life. Those numbers jump up when you go down a little bit. The numbers for the girls, I think, were about half of what the boys were. Soccer, again, you mentioned this on our tour, soccer players are very relatable. They aren't, NBA players. They're not 7 feet tall. They're not 300 pounds like NFL players. They look like, if you walk in, hey, he looks like my dad. My dad might be bigger than him. Very relatable. And one of the big barriers we talked about, or what we're told about, is the Latin market specifically. They already have allegiances to teams in Mexico or their home country. With the kids, we can build that allegiance at a young age and keep them fans, even if they leave. And we think that's important for the continued growth and support of this football community. And then again, if you look at the numbers of players across the world, the majority of them are kids and youth.
Thanks. I really love that you guys attack this kind of game by game in terms of what events and what programs you put around each of these games to work the numbers. I'm curious how you would go after the games with lower attendance to the games that are going to have a good crowd, big atmosphere that you want a first-time buyer to come and see and witness what kind of authentic crowd base and coming to achieve this game on a non-July 4th week where you might not have as big of a crowd there and not engaged.